Hi everyone, my name is Nick, and today I have a couple of houseplants to repot, so I figured let's just sit down together and repot them. I would love to pretend that this is my planned video for this week, but it is 100% not. I got a new microphone, actually a microphone I've had in the past that I had broken and I wanted it again, so I had just gotten it and I trusted that it was going to work totally fine on the first use, and it didn't, so my footage that I took the other day is unusable, so I didn't want to just give up again and not have a video for this week, so we are going to sit down and repot some plants. I'm going to try really hard not to complain about it that much this video, but I have backup. I'm trying the other microphone again, but I have my old microphone as backup, so if you didn't just hear me tap on that microphone, probably means that the other microphone's working, but if not, it means that we gotta use Old Faithful here. But the first houseplant that I'm gonna repot today is one of the ones that I got in my last video, I'm pretty sure, which was my Stevesley's unboxing video, and I have this lovely Scindapsus fuscata. I didn't really learn how to pronounce it since the last video, but I have this here. I have had it sitting on my desk in this lovely Bergs, B-E-R-G-S, if you're curious, pot right here. And I think that this is the call, and it's been acclimating to my home over the past 2 weeks, and it's now dried out. I usually like to do my repotting when my houseplants are on the drier side because I just feel like that causes less problems than when they are wet. So this one has dried out quite a bit. It's just getting a little bit flaccid, as you can see, so it's a good time to go ahead and repot this guy. So I figured without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and put it in this lovely Bergs pot right here. I have some soil down here in my bucket. Don't worry, this is not a sponsored video. I know how much you guys love those, but this is, believe it or not, a product that I use in my home pretty much every day. So we're gonna go ahead and repot this plant. I also am joined by a Campari soda, one of my favorite cocktails. I know it's 11 a.m., but I've had a morning from not having footage to edit that's usable, so a nice light cocktail to get my afternoon started. And speaking of, actually, I think I should probably keep this back here because we're about to get a little messy on the counter. I do my repotting on the kitchen counter here. I do use my buckets. I do have another one. Like I said, not sponsored at all. These are just products that I use in my home. And also, not to get on a tangent, but I know I do sponsored videos every once in a while. I know some of you guys are not happy about it, but I just need to let you guys know that if I'm ever doing a sponsored video, I genuinely use the product in my home, and I am talking about it for that reason. I get emails literally every day from companies who want me to do videos for them, and they're products that I've either never heard of or never used in my home. So any sponsored video I've ever done here on my channel are products that I'm genuinely using. People were giving me a lot of flack about this bucket last year and the watering can. Just taking a moment to talk about it, but believe it or not, these are products I genuinely use in my home. So I'm sorry that I took an opportunity to be honest and make a little extra money at the same time, but like I said, going off on a tangent, but I have this bucket full of soil here, and then I have this bucket for all of my scraps. So it comes in handy, especially when I'm going to make such a mess of my kitchen. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove the pot here of this plant, and I'll save the tag because I will use it. And I'm just gonna nestle it inside this real quick as I get this planter right here, which does have a drainage hole in the bottom, as you can see. And this is really lovely terracotta. It's very heavy duty. I know that you can get like normal terracotta pots for probably just like $1 or $2 at your local houseplant stores, but I really like the character that Bergs has. And if you have enough terracotta in your home, bringing just a couple of these planters into your home really does make a difference. I will say that myself. Once again, not sponsored. I feel the need to reiterate that with this video, where I'm sure I'm going to be using and talking about plenty of products that I'm a big fan of. So this is pretty tightly in there. I can see these roots are, I know I'm pretty far away from the camera, but these roots are not like the most robust roots, so I don't really have to worry about like breaking them, so I can kind of just go ahead and just loosen up this a little bit around the perimeter. And then we're just gonna nestle it inside our planter here. I think it's a little low. I think I'd like to add another like ½ inch of soil on top. Good thing we moved our Campari soda, because it definitely would have gotten some perlite and peat in it by now. And you might notice I'm using a pot to plant my plants. You might be surprised that even with 400 plants in my home, I do not own a garden trowel. So I'm just using whatever I have on hand. I like to use a spoon pretty often, and plastic pots like the ones that come off of my plants I use often as well, but today I'm just feeling this terracotta pot. Makes me feel a little bit more classy, but the classiest thing, we can't argue, would probably be just getting an actual garden trowel, but we like to make do. Also, our Campari soda is classy enough, so that's all we need today. I am a really big fan of Campari, not a plant thing, but I really love all of those, like, aperitifs, I think they're called. Like, I love Pimm's and Aperol Spritz. But I really like a nice light cocktail that's not too sweet, so Campari and soda is perfect for me. I make this one cocktail all the time that I use the grapefruit Spindrift, if you guys are familiar. And I'll use that for Campari and soda, and I add a splash of vodka, and I'll squeeze a nice orange wedge in there, and it is such a delicious cocktail for the late afternoon. I call it a pink prick because every time I go meet up with my friends and I'm drinking one of them already, they think it's going to be something like cute and cranberry juice and sweet, and then they go and take a sip, and it's not what they're expecting. So I think it's a very fitting name. Alrighty, we have this guy all nicely potted up. So as you might have been seeing while I was yammering away about liquor at 11 in the morning, I kind of just put the soil in around the perimeter of the pot, and I just kind of like push my fingers in around the edges. That's where you really want to make sure the soil's down, because if not, you're just going to go ahead and water your plant and the soil is just going to sink there, and it's just not going to look as good. I'm sure it will affect the health in some way, but not particularly. But I'm just going to go ahead and move back here to the sink real quick. I'm now realizing that I'm used to talking into this microphone and that one's not going to catch me from over here, so I might as well just be using this microphone on me anyway. But alrighty, well, it's watered, it's a little messy, gotta go back in there around the perimeter. Alrighty, so we got it watered, and I can just kind of clean it up. Of course, I always make a little bit of a mess, but I can go ahead and clean that off when it dries. But we have this beautiful Sideraceous fuscata from Steve's Leaves. I'm gonna go ahead and stick the tag in again because still learning how to pronounce this name. I've been such a big fan of this plant. I put it right on my desk, right next to where I do all my work. So every time I'm sitting at my computer, I can just go ahead and pet these wonderfully fuzzy leaves. And the way that they shine underneath my Soltech Solutions aspect light, which I will leave my discount code in the description, but once again, not sponsored. The way it shines underneath the light there is just so beautiful with these little purple hairs that are all over the leaves that I'm sure the light of my softboxes are catching a little bit, but probably not immensely, because this is really just a plant to behold in person. It really is quite lovely. So let's just move that over here. And there's a lot going on here. We're gonna need another sip of our Campari Spritz before we get too much more messy. A big sip. Okay, so actually, while we're back here, I would like to replant my Rhapsis palm into this little alabaster terracotta pot, I think they call it, is what it is, alabaster. I'm not a huge fan of these white terracotta pots in the way that they age over time and you do have your plants planted directly in them. So now that I'm thinking about that, I'm like, am I making a mistake planting it in here because it's going to affect the appearance of the pot? But I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I just would prefer, for my aesthetics of me being in my kitchen, not seeing this plastic pot just sitting inside this terracotta pot when it's just the perfect size to be planted right in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So once again, pull this over, pull out that little weed, and I guess first, be a little bit more prepared, we're gonna put a little bit of soil inside the base of our little terracotta planter right here. And then we'll go ahead and remove this. This is a very like coconut coir heavy mixture, and these roots are very, very fine. That definitely looks like something that could dry out a little bit, but it wouldn't want to be too dry for too long. So looks like a plant I should probably be watering like every week or two. And the way that this is in the coconut coir planter, you can see it's kind of off-centered. And I can't decide if I like want a little bit of character by having the plant off-centered or if I want it to be perfect. I think I want it to be a little bit more centered than that. So what I'm gonna do is just take this, and because it's a little bit more on this side, I'm just gonna kind of loosen up some of the soil on this side. I don't want it all to fall apart. I'm sure I could get the whole thing apart if I wanted to, but let's try this. So then I'm gonna be able to just kind of push this a little bit more in the center, as you can see here. So it's not completely centered, but it's a little bit better than what we were working with before. So let's just go ahead and quickly get some soil in here before it maneuvers back to its original position, which it might actually do because of the way that the plant was planted, and the roots might just kind of like slowly push it, which you can see it's not even perfectly centered. I feel like it looks literally exactly like it did before. I guess it's a little bit more centered, but we're just gonna accept it for what it is. I love when plants have character, and then every time I try to give it my own vision, it's just like, no, we're gonna do what I had planned in the first place, and that's just Mother Nature for you. So I'm not gonna compete with that. Well, that just looks super cute. Looks so much better just being planted inside. It really makes such a difference. Like, it doesn't make that huge of a difference, but enough of a difference that I'm going to notice that this looks much better planted directly in here than just sitting inside its plastic planter. I mean, it just hinders the appearance just a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and water this a little bit later. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna water it a little bit later, but I'm going to put it back where it was so that we can enjoy our background the way that it was before. Oh, I have another one over here. So this is a Scindapsus. I think this is Scindapsus pictus Silver Splash. So it's very similar to the Exotica and the Argyrius and Silver and all of those types. It's just got a little bit of a different variegation. You can see it's a little bit more splashy, a little bit more splotchy maybe, I don't know. But it's one that is popular in the market. This was a gift from one of my friends, which is very sweet of her. So we're gonna go ahead and repot it inside here. Once again, the soil is nice and dry. Not too dry, like the leaves on the Scindapsus aren't curling up, so it's not like bone dry, but dry enough that this is the perfect time to go ahead and repot this planter. So I have this little spherical, I think this is basalt planter. I did actually drill a hole in this because it was a cash pot to begin with. Cash pot being any planter that doesn't have a drainage hole, so the point of those is to literally do just this, place it inside and call it a day. But these are easy enough to drill into, so I go ahead and do it, and they have saucers that match, so it's easy enough to go ahead and do that. So once again, put a little bit of soil in the base of our planter here. I really love the way that Scindapsus pictus look, not only with the basalt planters because of their bluish color, the way they look so nice, but I love them in the circular planters because of the way they spill over the pots. It just looks so nice. So I'm pretty sure I have at least one other Scindapsus pictus in my home in one of these planters because it really just looks so good. Once again, remove the plant from the pot, and wow, look at these roots. So these have a lot more roots than the other plants that we are working with, so it's definitely better that we are working with a little bit larger of a planter, not much larger, just like an inch or two larger in diameter, but large enough that these roots are going to have space to breathe. I have another Scindapsus pictus in my home that I have had for a couple years now, and I can tell that it's getting a little root bound in the planter that it's in because like every 5 days or so it's starting to curl up a little bit, which means it's drying up a little faster than it would like to be. So I think that's when I'm probably gonna have to go ahead and give it a little bit of a larger planter in the near future, but for right now I really like the way it looks in the planter it's in, so I'm just holding on as long as I can. And so this one, you can see it's kind of poking at the top, so I think I put a little bit too much soil in to get started, so just dump that out and start with just a very small layer and try that out instead. Yeah, that's much better. That's probably about 1/4 of an inch below the lip, which is a little high for my liking. I think I usually like it to be like half an inch below the lip, but I don't think I can make it go any lower, and I really like it in this planter, so we're gonna make do. This planter that it was in is a little bit taller than some of the other ones I'm used to. You can see, like in comparison to other 4-inch pots, this one's at least half an inch taller, so guess it needed a little bit more room, but looking at those roots, I totally understand why. I know it's frustrating for me, of course, when footage is unusable, or in the case of last time when I technically didn't get any footage at all because the recording never really happened, but somebody who looks at the bright sides of things, of course, also gives me a chance to have an excuse to have a nice afternoon cocktail, but it just makes me kind of look in retrospect at some of the ways that I could be doing a little bit better with my channel. Like I used to in my old apartment have videos prepared a week in advance, so that's not something I'm doing in this apartment. I need to get back on track, and it is definitely something that's becoming apparent to me that it's very important to get ahead like that. But I'm also realizing, sitting down and doing this repotting video, which is different than many of the other videos I typically do when I just sit down and talk about a topic, that I like this. I like having a little bit more variety, and I do want to be sitting in more places in my apartment. I don't just want to be sitting in front of the bedroom shelves. So, I mean, I'm still obviously working on my apartment, I'd say. By October, September, hopefully, I'm going to have this place looking 90%, 100% of the way that I want to. But we're going to take our time, we're going to make sure we do it perfectly, and then I'm going to, at that point, show you guys this place in its fullest in a nice apartment tour video here on the channel. Houseplant tour probably also coming very soon. And I'm saying this out loud because I want to hold myself accountable, but I really, really would like to get back in it with Plant of the Week. I've been not doing it for about a year, but I've been getting a lot of comments recently that people would like to see more of that, and I mean, it's something I would like to do. I actually had a couple more Plant of the Week videos that I never ended up posting, and at this point I'm just going to refilm them because it would be weird seeing me a year ago. I definitely look a little different. I've put on a couple more pounds since then, which honestly I think I look better with a little extra weight on me. It's not too much, it's just enough, a healthy amount. But yeah, I think I'd rather give you guys some more up-to-date material rather than something I filmed a year prior, although it would be kind of fun. But I would really like to sit down and do some more Plant of the Week videos. I have so many plants to talk about. It's just something you really got to keep up with, but that's the kind of commitment that I need right now in my life. So it's been almost a year now. I can't believe that. I can't believe it. It's been almost a year since I quit my job at Urban Jungle, which, as many of you know, if you've been watching me for a while, was not something that was out of, what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't something that was out of malice. It was something that I just felt was necessary for me. It's so long ago, so it feels like it's not even thinking about it. I feel like in every video I'm always like, back when I worked at the plant shop, which I can't help it. I can't help it, I'm sorry. But it's been so long now that I've been on my own, and I've been so proud at how I've been doing, but I still think I need to do a little bit more, and I need to keep myself a little bit more on the ground, let's say. Like, I need to keep my goals in check. I have things I want to do. Like, I would love to open up a plant store one day, but that's going to take some time. That's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of saving up, and right now I'm just trying to enjoy the time that I have after quitting my full-time job and transitioning into this being my full-time job, and then something else will be my full-time job someday. So just trying to appreciate this time in my mid to late 20s that I'm never going to have again. So pardon me for that. But on that note, we have this lovely Scindapsus, what was it called? Silver Splash, all ready to go. So I'll go ahead and water it when I'm done the video. I think I learned from that first one that I'm gonna wait till I'm done. I do have one more thing that I want to repot today. It's gonna be a process, so give me 1 second. Okay, so please don't judge me. You would never, right? Never. So this is my painted lady philodendron. It's not looking at its fullest potential. When I got this as a gift, speaking of when I was leaving working at Urban Jungle, so I've had this for almost a year now. And it was this beautiful 10-inch hanging basket. I planted it in this planter right here, which seemed like a good idea, but it just didn't really love it. I took a couple cuttings of this plant, which is explaining why it's diminished so much, just in case I did lose this main plant. But now I just have this little wimpy thing in here, and I kind of want to get it out of here. I really want to use this planter for another area in my home. I got a mirror for my living room, and I want to move one of my dracaenas because now I have 2 dracaenas over in this corner of my house. So I'm going to move one of them over by the new mirror, and then I want to get something else that's not a dracaena, but also a good low light houseplant, so probably like a Sansevieria or a Chinese evergreen. Oh my god, I'm still like out of breath from carrying this planter. I want to plant something like that in here just to give that space a little bit more diversity in terms of the foliage. But I don't want to get rid of any of my plants, but this is just not doing it for me. This is taking up way too much space for such a small planter, and like I said, it was planted inside a 10-inch pot, but from the way that it's grown, I wouldn't be surprised if there's been some dieback in the roots. So what I was thinking was we could go ahead and take this out of here and go ahead and plant it in something smaller. Ideally, I have this planter down here that I would love to plant it in. It's a lot smaller. Like this is like a quarter of the size, if not even less than that, of the what's this in. But we're gonna just inspect the roots, see what's going on. If not, I have some 8-inch terracotta pots on backup, but I think that's as big as I would like to go. So let's go ahead and get in here. I think we're gonna need another sip of our Campari soda for good luck. And I think we will need a spoon for this one, so just rinse my hand before I go reaching in my dishwasher. And oh gosh, this is, I feel like a butter knife would be better for this. Let's get a butter knife as well. Okay, we're ready to dig into our plant here. So it's gonna start off by going around the perimeter. Oh, love that sound. Kidding. We're gonna start by just going around the perimeter of our plant that we have here. I'm just gonna kind of zhuzh it a little bit. So I'm just kind of like pushing with my knife. And I can kind of tell this is still kind of in its shape from when it was in that 10-inch hanging basket. But it's also looking like maybe there was some dieback with the roots. So I would like to reuse the, oh, but just look at the way this plant's just like pulling out. That's not good. That's not good. We're making the right choice today. It's unfortunate we made the wrong choice before with planting this in here, but I don't want to just yank it all out because I don't want to break any of the roots, but the way I'm just kind of tossing this way, and I'm sure I've broken some of the roots. Like I'm jamming this in here. I've definitely broken a couple of roots here and there, but it looks like most of the root ball's up here. Yeah, that is way too much soil in this pot for this plant. So I honestly think we're probably going to be able to get into that planter that I was originally thinking. Like, look at these roots. They are a little low. I feel like they would probably appreciate the terracotta a little bit more. But you know what? This plant's been hanging on for a year. I put it through a lot, and I'm going to put it through more. So let's go ahead and move this over. I'm totally going to reuse the soil in here because I don't feel like it's gotten much of the nutrients sucked out of it from the roots, so we're going to take a chance there, but let's go ahead and place our plant here. It's going to look so much better in a small planter. Like, I think it looks so underwhelming inside the planter right here, and this is going to be so much more better suited for a plant, which I'm going to go to the farmer's market today, actually, and maybe I'll see if I can find something which will be perfect because now this planter is available. Go ahead and take our guy here and see how it fits. It's a little tight. It's a little tight. It's like, don't do this at home, kids. But honestly, do whatever you want. But this looks so much, I think this looks like an actual plant. Like, it looked like nothing when I brought it over. You're probably like, what the hell is that? But this looks actually kind of cute. Let's hope that it does better. Fingers crossed. I knew I was making a mistake when I got this. I bought this planter and I was like, this red planter is gonna look so good with my painted lady, but it's probably a little bit big. I probably should have just let it be in the hanging basket. But when I got the hanging basket, I remember it being like having a nice amount of roots, but I did not do this plant any good. So just forgive me. I like to learn from my mistakes. I'm no expert. I know some of you think I'm an expert, but I am still learning every day. This makes me feel so much better too, because since this planter is so big, it's kind of just been sitting in not the best spot for it to be receiving the conditions that it would like. So I'm feeling confident now that it's in a much more manageable sized planter that I'm going to be able to put it somewhere in my home where it's going to be growing to its fullest potential. Which, you know, the cuttings that I took from this plant they're really flourishing. So maybe one day I will plant them all back together as one pot because I don't really love having doubles all over my house anymore now that I've downsized a little bit. Loved it in my old place. I would buy like 5 of the same plant and just put them all over my home. But now it's a little excessive for me, so I'm just making do with what I have. So one day, like I said, I'll get them all back nestled together in their home. You can see I'm kind of being a little aggressive with the perimeter of the pot once again, just making sure that I push all of that soil down to make sure that the plant is well planted. I don't know how else to put it. And this plant has so many new growth things on it, new growth tips. There's one here, one here, one here, one here. So 4 wonderful new growth tips that hopefully I didn't just stunt their growth from replanting it. But honestly, from the way that this is literally just a pot of soil right here, I think I made the right choice, so fingers crossed, we'll see how this goes in a matter of time. Now I have to find somewhere to fit this in my home, but like I said, it's going to fit so much better than it was prior, so I'm thrilled with this. Like, really, like the way that the leaves are hanging off the side now, it looks so much more like an actual plant. Maybe one day I'll actually have it climbing up this moss pole that was just kind of sitting there as a vision board for what this plant could look like one day, but was never going to look like inside this large planter. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I'm sorry it's a makeup video in my own eyes, but hopefully it's everything you wanted and more. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you don't already, oh gosh, I'm realizing I was standing. I'm supposed to be sitting in this video so my head's not chopped off, so hopefully my head wasn't chopped off for a good amount of time there. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Philly Foliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.